Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Dr. Muhammad Sarfraz, Associate Professor of Medicine. Today we will discuss about very important topic, that is motor neuron disease. As far as definition is concerned, it is basically a degenerative brain disease. As the name suggests, it is a motor neuron disease. So motor neurons are affected mostly, and there is no sensory involvement in most of the time. Basically, it is a degenerative brain disease of motor nuclei or motor neurons and their associated tracts. And what are the structures involved? You see that there are anterior horn cells in the anterior part of the spinal cord. These relay signals to the muscles and they take signals from the corticospinal tract, that is upper motor neuron. The corticospinal tract originates from bed cells. These cells are present in the layer 4 of cerebral cortex. So, in motor neuron disease, anterior horn cells may be affected. There may be disease of bed cells, or cranial nerve nuclei are involved, or corticobulbar tract. Corticobulbar tract relies signal to the cranial nerve nuclei, while corticospinal tract gives signal to the anterior horn cells in the spinal cord. So these are the structures involved in motor neuron disease, and any combination of these structures involvement may be in any case. So what are the difference between upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron lesions? Upper motor neuron means bed cells are their associated tract like corticobulbar tract and corticospinal tract. Any injury either to bed cells, corticobulbar tract or corticospinal tract which results in upper motor neuron lesions. There are typical features of upper motor neuron lesions. There may be hyperreflexia, hypertonia, decreased power, and plantar will be upgoing. And what are the lower motor neuron lesions? The anterior horn cells and the cranial nerve nuclei are the lower motor neurons. If they are involved, the features will be of lower motor neuron type, and the features of lower motor neuron types are hyporeflexia or areflexia, hypotonia, plantar would be downgoing, and power will obviously decrease, and there may be fasciculations. So basically, in motor neuron disease, we will observe upper motor neuron or lower motor neuron features are the combination of upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron features in the peripheral limbs. So clinical features would be either only upper motor neuron of neuronal type or only lower motor neuronal type, or there may be mixed upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron features. So patient may usually comes to you with the history of weakness, difficulty in walking, difficulty in holding things in hand, difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in speaking. So any musculatures can be involved. Bulbar musculatures can be involved or limb musculatures can be involved. And when you will examine this patient, there may be only upper motor neuron, which I mentioned below. There would be hyperreflexia, hypertonia, decreased power, and upgoing plantars in the lower limbs. Similarly, in the upper limbs, the upper motor neuron features will be there. And if it is pure lower motor neuron lesions, in the limbs, there will be finding of lower motor neuron type like hypotonia, hyporeflexia, and downgoing plantars. And there may be mixed upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron lesions. In muscles, there may be hypertonia and areflexia. Similarly, in upper limb, there may be areflexia with hypertonia or hyperreflexia with hypotonia. So any combination of the features can be found. If the bulbar musculature is involved, there would be dysarthria, dysphagia, difficulty in speaking, and the jaw jerk and gag reflex would be exaggerated in case of upper motor neuron lesion, in which the pseudo bulbar tract are involved, or there would be absent jaw jerk or decreased jaw jerk, or absent or decreased gag reflex in case of lower motor neuron lesion, in which the cranial nerve nuclei supplying the bulbar muscles are involved. So what are the types of motor neuron disease? It usually is of four types: amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, primary spinal muscular atrophy, bulbar palsy, and pseudobulbar palsy. We will describe the feature of these types now. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, as the name suggests, there is involvement of the corticospinal tract, which lies laterally in the spinal cord. So whenever there is lesion of the corticospinal tract, the upper motor neuron features will be there. In amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, some of the anterior horn cells are also involved. So mixed upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron lesions would be found in these patients. We will see the hyperreflexia, hyporeflexia, hypertonia, or hypotonia, any combination of the symptoms of upper signs of upper motor neuron or lower motor neurons in the lower limbs as well as in the upper limbs. Primary spinal muscular atrophy, in this the pure lower motor neuron features will be there. Lower motor neuron features will be found in the lower limbs and the upper limbs as well. There would be no upper motor neuron features. In the limbs there would be hyporeflexia or areflexia, hypotonia, decreased power, and downgoing plantars. The bulbar palsy is another variant of motor neuron disease. In bulbar palsy, there is pure lower motor neuron type of lesions, and there is absent jaw jerk or decreased jaw jerk. Similarly, gag reflex will be absent or decreased, and obviously power of the bulbar muscles would be decreased. Pseudobulbar palsy is a upper motor neuron type of lesion in the bulbar musculatures, in which corticobulbar tract is involved. There may be hyperreflexia, increased exaggerated jaw jerk, or exaggerated gag reflex would be there. And one of the fifth varieties also is a primary lateral sclerosis, in which pure upper motor neuron type of lesion is found, in which no lower motor neuron lesion features are present. So these are the five varieties mostly we encounter when we deal with the patient of motor neuron disease. So combined upper and lower motor neuron disorders, in which amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, as I mentioned earlier, it may be familial adult onset or it may be familial juvenile onset. Some of the cases are sporadic, and plus other degenerative symptoms known as sporadic ALS plus syndrome, like ALS and frontotemporal dementia, Western Pacific ALS, Parkinsonism, dementia complex, in which Parkinson-like features are also present. Usually we found Parkinson disease in elderly population above 60. Or motor neuron disease, usually patients present from 40 to 60 years of age. If we found Parkinsonian-like features in the patient in early 40 or late 50, you should suspect also rather to rule out motor neuron disease as well. Pure upper motor neuron disorder included primary lateral sclerosis, I have mentioned earlier, in which pure upper motor neuron features are there. The hereditary spastic paraplegia, in which there is weakness of both lower limbs with features of upper motor neuron type of lesions like hyperreflexia, hypertonia, upgoing plantars, and decreased power in the lower limbs. So a brief summary of clinical features which I discussed before. Patient may present with a weakness and atrophy in all four limbs, mostly progressing from distal to proximal. Usually the neurological lesions in which the motor neurons are involved, the mostly weakness starting from distal to and progress to the proximal. In myopathic lesions, usually weakness started from proximal portion. There may be fatigue, cramps, can be there. By the time the patient comes with complaint, motor neuron degeneration would have progressed. Bulbar symptoms occur late in the disease. In the initial presentation, usually bulbar symptoms are absent. If the bulbar symptom appear initially, then the patient will carry a bad prognosis. It will progress rapidly and involve the respiratory musculature as well. Sensory and autonomic nervous system, usually symptoms are absent. Symptoms may be, in few cases, the sensory evoke potential abnormalities picked up. Bulbar symptoms include tongue fasciculation, facial and palatal weakness, dysphagia, dysarthria. One prominent thing to be remembered here that oculomotor nuclei are almost always spared in the patient of motor neuron disease. Speech problem, difficulty speaking would be there. So if the eye involvement is there, then think of alternate diagnosis, because in motor neuron disease, oculomotor nuclei is not involved, usually supplying the most of the muscles of the eye. As far as prognosis is concerned, the average survival post disease onset is 4 years. A small number of patients have lived for 15 to 20 years post onset. Patients with initial involvement of respiratory tract and the bulbar muscles are known to have faster progression of the disease, and the prognosis of these patients is poor. Prognosis may vary as drug therapies are developed. Now we come to differential diagnosis. We have to rule out multiple sclerosis, cervical myelopathy, syringomyelia, peripheral neuropathies due to vitamin deficiency, poisoning, lead poisoning, infectious, nutritional causes. We have to rule out peripheral neuropathies, especially in case in which the lower motor neuron type of features are predominant, because in peripheral neuropathies also lower motor neuron type of features present like areflexia, hyporeflexia, hypotonia, downgoing planters. So we have to differentiate it from peripheral neuropathies. If because motor neuron disease is a chronic degenerative illness, its onset is gradual, and we have to differentiate it with chronic inflammatory demyelinating neuropathies, which has also gradual onset but causing peripheral neuropathies and similar type of lower motor neuron features as we encounter in patient of motor neuron disease with predominant lower motor neuron type of features like primary spinal atrophy or bulbar palsy. In syringomyelia, there is typical pattern of pain loss in the arms and the chest, and there is syringe formation in the cervical cord usually. Cervical myelopathy, there would be a history of neck pain, backache due to osteophyte formation. These osteophyte can impinge on the spinal cord, and so cervical myelopathy, if it is there, it can cause at the site of lesion lower motor neuron damage will be occur, and below the lesion upper motor neuron damage will be occur. The patient in the legs will have upper motor neuron and in the arms lower motor, so it may mimic with the motor neuron disease. We have to rule out cervical myelopathy as well. As far as management is concerned, first of all, general management, because as I mentioned earlier, in these patients there is muscle weakness, difficulty in walking, difficulty in swallowing, speaking, difficulty in holding things in the hands. So we have to do a general. We have to encourage the movement of the patient by using walkers, by using sticks. We have to encourage patient physiotherapy in these patients. We have to care mouth and bowel care of these patients. Secretions of the mouth should be cared. We have to care about patients cramps, muscle weakness. We can use certain drugs as well, for example gabapentin to decrease the synthesis of glutamate, which is excitatory, and supplemental dosage of tocopherol, vitamin E, and antioxidant can be given for muscle relaxation. Insulin-like growth factors, riluzole is usually used in the case of motor neuron disease, but it does not prolong the prognosis of the patient, does not prolong the life of the patient usually. It can prolong only 4 to 6 months life of the patient. It decreases the presynaptic release of glutamate, has been found to have positive effects on the length of survival. The second, sportive therapy for clinical problems, for example, muscle relaxation for spasm and cramps like quinine and baclofen. For dysphagia, problem with management of their saliva, choking, drooling, increased viscosity due to dehydration. So hydration should be improved. Tablet containing papain and bromelain, anticholinergic agents. Sometimes surgical option like ligation of ducts is used, sparing the parasympathetic supply to the salivary gland to decrease the secretions of the saliva. Botox injections sometimes used, and radiotherapy can be used. As far as dysarthria is concerned, palatal lip prosthesis to address the hypernasality abnormalities with volume and speed of the speech. Speech therapy can be used. Breathing techniques, voice amplification system, homemade point boards, computer-based communication based on single pointing eye movements that translate written word into voiced words. So these are the different techniques. As far as respiratory management is concerned, there is weakness of diaphragm, intercostals, abdominal, and other accessory muscles. The signs are orthopnea, hypoventilation, weak ineffective cough will be there. Oxygen saturation level should be monitored. Forced vital capacity assessment in standing and supine should be done regularly. Chest exercise should be done. Breathing for energy conservations. Patient should be taught to the patient. Stretching to maintain the length of the muscles, endurance and strength training. Oxygenation should be given at 2 liters per minute. BiPAP can be managed at home. Home mechanical ventilation can be addressed. Tracheostomy may be needed. So, as far as physiotherapy management, the daily activity log should be calculated. Patient should be encouraged to move. The type of activity should be recorded. What positions are you in? Lying, sitting, standing, or moving? What is the fatigue level of the patient from numbering 0 to 10? If the number is in between, there is moderate fatigue. If the number approaching 9, 10, then severe fatigue. If approaching 1, 12, mild fatigue. Similarly, pain should be recorded with the number 0 to 10, its location, intensity. Assessment of the muscle tone should be done and their strength should be measured. Endurance, tightness, respiratory function should be monitored, and pain and speech therapy, all these factors come under the heading of physiotherapy, speech therapy as well. So physiotherapy of the oral muscles as well. And very important aspect is psychotherapy, because most of these patients are depressed because they are unable to move their legs, they are unable to hold the things in the hands, their weakness is progressive in nature, and respiratory is their problem. So prognosis is also very poor in